The story of the trench coat and my father's little bank safe he kept in his closet. So I was working, and I had been working since I was 16, and even beforehand, of course, cutting lawns and doing all that, and worked at a pet shop for a short time before I turned 16. And quit there because they were abusing the old lady in the back. I was like, I couldn't take it. I couldn't stand that, watching that kind of verbal abuse and everything that they did to her. Anyway, so I left there, and um, let's see. But anyway, when I turned 16, anyway, I was working, and so I had to pay. When I was 17, I had to pay rent. I had to pay $300 a month rent to live at home in my bedroom, and then I had to pay for my car, like over $5,000 car, $5,000, yeah, $5,000 car, and I had to pay for it because my parents didn't want to help me buy a used car from a previous owner. Like just buy one from someone, out of the newspaper or whatever. I had to. Yeah, we had newspapers back then. People use newspapers to do all that. Not now. It's Craigslist and online and all that stuff. Back then we had newspapers, and there were always ads out there. And even the neighbor around the corner was selling a really nice Volkswagen for just $1,000. Couldn't get any help from my parents. Wouldn't buy it for me. So I had to go and pay for a brand new car, right? Well, it was it wasn't a used car. Sorry, it was a used car. Scratch that. Used car, $5,000 from a, yeah, car dealer. And of course, that car wasn't worth anywhere near $5,000. I mean, it was constantly having engine problems. I'd had to come up with the money, having to have it repaired all the time and everything else. But anyway, so I was into the new wave scene and the progressive scene and all that. So I wanted to buy a trench coat. I saw it at the Oak Tree, which I really loved. It was a quilted cloth, like real cotton trench coat, and it was beautiful. It had like little cross marks on it, like it was embroidered in there, and it was very nice. And it was all black, and it had big pockets on it and on the coat and everything, and it was a very nice jacket. Well, nice until my brother decided he liked it and wanted to use it all the time whenever he'd go out with his rock band to play at different venues or wherever they went. But they would play, he'd play with his rock band all the time. And so he just took it over. I paid $80 for that, $80 plus tax. And I had to save up my money to buy it. And he had worn the thing out so bad, and just with him sweating in it, and then eventually where I couldn't even wear it anymore because it was all stretched out and everything, because it wasn't for his size, it was for my size. And so because he's a lot bigger than I am. And so then he ripped the pocket on it, tore and ripped the pocket on the jacket, to where I couldn't even wear it anymore. And he never offered to pay me for it, never gave me a dime for it, okay, because he ripped it and destroyed it, and just took it over. And then after I'd saved some, took my money, I had to save for that. Okay, it took me, paychecks to save for that. I had to save up for it. And I finally saved up enough money to buy it, and I went and bought it for myself. And my brother just takes it over, and then destroys it, and then doesn't even replace it. And he's never given me a fucking dime for anything his whole fucking life. All right? So that's okay, because it's okay. Whatever Danny and Mary does is perfectly fine. Doesn't matter. Danny can smoke weed and drink and do all the things everybody else did at that age, and it's just fine. Everything's fine. Danny's just fine. I go out drinking with my friends and stuff like that, and then I'm an addict, and I'm an alcoholic, and I'm an addict, and because I drank heavily when I did go out, and which I never went out before I had, like, the day before I had to go to work, because I never did that. I'd go out on the day or the night before I had a day off. So I wouldn't go in hungover to work. I never did. Kept my jobs. I never fucking kept my job, whatever it was. And I never drank before I had to go, the day before I had to go into work. Okay, I'd go out on a night when I didn't have to work the next day. Okay, so, you know, and then that makes me an addiction, like an addiction person or something. Whatever my sister says, she's so full of shit. But this is what I'm talking about. This is perfectly okay for them. It was all perfectly fine and dandy and okay with whatever they did. But if I did it, they blew it up out of proportion like it was the end of the fucking world. And then same thing with her and her food addiction, and her stealing money out of my dad's little bank safe that he had in his closet. She was stealing money out of there to buy food, candy bars, God only knows what. I remember lifting up the bed skirt around her bed, looked underneath it. There was a whole pile of empty candy bar wrappers underneath her bed. All right, because she wasn't throwing them in the garbage, because she didn't want people to know that where she was getting all the money from. Well, we found out, and then she blamed it on me, because she was the one breaking into the safe, got into the safe, and taking money out of that safe, not me, to buy food or candy for her food addiction, her big fat ass addiction. Okay, but that's okay. That's okay, because Mary did it. So Mary did it. That makes it perfectly okay. And then the fact that she blamed me for it. Okay, and my family called me into the house, called me, wanted me to come over, from wherever I was, and then I had to go, after I got off work. Well, we need to talk to you when you get home. I was like, okay. So wherever I was, and then I got home, and they were like, "Oh, did you steal money out of your father's bank safe in the college?" I said, "No, absolutely not. I fucking work. I fucking work for a living. All right, I'm not doing that shit." No, Mary blamed it on me. Okay, and then finally fessed up to it. Like I say, this shit went on with them, and they had no problems doing that stuff to me. All right, my brother never repaid me for that. Okay, the oak tree trench coat that I saved up and bought for myself. All right, and that fucking bitch Mary, my adopted brother and sister, yeah, Mary fucking lies about me stealing money out of the bank and the thing in the closet. Tried to blame it on me, and I had nothing to do with it. To feed her fucking big fat ass addiction to candy bars and food or whatever else she was spending the money on that she stole. And God only knows how much she stole. Because when I saw that big pile of empty candy bar wrappers underneath her bed, one day when I went in there, when she was at the music studio, I went in there and looked around and looked underneath her bed and saw a big pile of empty candy bar wrappers. I couldn't even believe it. But like I said, that's all okay. It's Danny and Mary. It's fine. It's perfectly fucking fine. But they have ruined my fucking name in my family and to any of their friends. They've completely ruined my name. All right, and I did absolutely nothing wrong to them or anybody else. All right, and they've tried to ruin my name, calling me an addict and a liar and an addict and all this other stuff, which they are both guilty of, and they're no better or greater than anyone else. All right, I'm out of here. See ya.